Let's be clear about the word banned, because none of these will put you in a courtroom. One switches on a warning light the moment you fit it. Several void warranty coverage the second a dealer spots them. The rest are simply services that don't exist in Porsche's own maintenance schedule, which means your dealer calls them unnecessary right up until the day they quote you for the failure they would have prevented. But every independent Porsche specialist runs these, and every Porsche past 200,000 miles has had most of them done. One is a $50 part that stops a $15,000 overheat. And number one is the single most important modification you can make to a water-cooled Porsche, and the dealer will not fit it. Number 10. Cleaning out the radiators and fitting screens. This is the cheapest mod on the list, and probably the most neglected. The radiators on a 911, Boxster, or Cayenne sit low in the front bumper corners, right behind open grills, and they act like nets. Leaves, pine needles, road grit, and general debris pack into the space between the radiator and the condenser and simply stay there for years. Here's what happens once that pack's solid. Airflow through the core drops, coolant temperature climbs, and the fan runs constantly. Worse, that trapped debris holds moisture against aluminium, and the radiator corrodes from the outside in, which is why owners discover leaking radiators that look fine from the front. On a car where localized overheating is genuinely linked to expensive engine failures, restricting your own cooling capacity for free is a terrible trade. The fix has two halves. First, pull the bumper cover and physically clean the radiators out, and specialists recommend doing exactly this anytime the front of the car is apart. Second, fit radiator protection screens behind the grills so it stops happening. It's a couple $100 and an afternoon, and it protects the cooling system that everything else on this list depends on. Your dealer won't suggest it because there's no labor operation for cleaning debris out of a radiator, but ask any specialist what they find behind the bumper cover of a 15-year-old 911, and they'll describe a compacted mat of leaves against the core. If you park under trees, assume it's in there right now. That's the cheap one. The next mod stops a failure that quietly causes the most expensive engine damage in the Porsche world. Number 9. Replacing the air-oil separator before it fails. The air-oil separator is a plastic component that handles crankcase ventilation, and on these engines, it is a wear item that Porsche does not treat as one. Here's why it matters far more than it sounds. When the AOS diaphragm fails, or the brittle plastic vent tubes and oil filler tubes crack, you get a vacuum leak. That vacuum leak makes the engine computer overfuel, and chronic overfueling means chronic fuel wash, which is raw fuel stripping the oil film off your cylinder walls every time you drive. The people who rebuild these engines name fuel wash directly as a contributor to cylinder bore scoring, and they specifically call out those brittle plastic components as the trigger. So a cheap plastic tube can start a feedback loop that ends with a scored engine. The classic symptoms are smoke on startup, oil consumption with no visible leak, a rough idle, and a whistling from the engine bay. There's a cheap test worth knowing. With the engine idling, slowly twist off the oil filler cap. If the idle changes hard or the engine tries to stall, crankcase vacuum is out of specification and the AOS is your suspect. The mod is to stop waiting for the failure. Treat the AOS and every associated plastic tube as a scheduled replacement item rather than a sealed component, and replace the whole set together rather than one piece at a time, because the tubes are the same age and the same plastic. There are upgraded units built specifically to address the weakness in the factory design, and specialists fit them as a matter of course on any engine they're rebuilding. That's the vacuum side handled. The next one is the service interval Porsche prints, and almost every specialist ignores. Number 8. Overriding Porsche's oil change interval. Porsche's service schedule stretches oil changes a long way, and that interval exists for a specific reason. It makes the ownership experience look cheap on paper, and it gets the car comfortably through its warranty period. It was not written to get your engine to 300,000 miles. Here's the engineering problem. A cold engine runs a deliberately rich mixture, and on a car that lives on short journeys, the oil never gets hot enough to boil off the fuel and moisture that accumulate in it. That leaves you with diluted, degraded oil doing the hardest job in the car. Specialists who see engine failures repeatedly point at exactly two culprits: cars used for short urban journeys and long service intervals. And they're blunt about the combination. because a diluted oil that then doesn't get changed for 2 years is how you wear out a cylinder. The mod is simple, and your dealer will call it unnecessary. Change the oil annually regardless of mileage, and more often than that if your Porsche does short trips. Use the correct approval for your specific engine, because the modern engines call for different specifications than the older ones. That's a few $100s a year against an engine rebuild, and it's the foundation every other mod on this list sits on. And here's the honest test. If your Porsche is a weekend car doing short runs to a coffee meet and back, that's the worst use case for these engines, and the annual change isn't optional. If it does long drives that get everything properly hot, you have more margin. Either way, time matters as much as mileage, because oil degrades sitting in a sump just as it does being used. Fresh oil protects the engine. The next mod protects the cooling system, and it's the component specialists say has a hard expiry date. If you found this interesting, feel free to check out my ebook in the description or scan the QR code on the right, and don't forget to subscribe. Number 7. Replacing the water pump on time, not on failure. Your dealer replaces a water pump when it starts leaking or making noise. Porsche specialists replace it on a calendar, and the interval they use is no later than 4 years or 50,000 miles, regardless of how it looks. Here's why that's not paranoia. The impeller on these pumps is not a lifetime part, and when it degrades or lets go, the debris goes straight into your cooling system while your coolant flow collapses. On a mid-engined or rear-engine Porsche with long coolant runs and an engine already sensitive to localized hotspots, a failing water pump is not an inconvenience. It's an overheating event waiting for a hot day. And an overheating event on these engines is exactly how you crack a head or destroy a cylinder. The mod is treating the water pump as a scheduled replacement item with a fixed expiry, and doing the thermostat at the same time because the labor overlaps almost completely. While you're in there, replace the coolant with the correct specification rather than topping up whatever is in there, because degraded coolant turns acidic and starts corroding the aluminium it was supposed to protect. Do it once every 4 years, and the cooling system stops being a source of catastrophic surprises. There's a related item on the earlier cars. Some ran a plastic coolant pipe inside the crankcase itself, and when that cracks, coolant contaminates the engine oil directly. The fix is an aluminium replacement, and on a used early car, it's a specific question worth asking. The next one is another lifetime fill that isn't, and it's the second most expensive component in your car. Number 6. Servicing the transmission fluid anyway. Ask a dealer about your transmission fluid, and you'll often hear the same phrase that every manufacturer uses. Lifetime fill. Never needs changing. Lifetime means the lifetime of the warranty period. It does not mean the lifetime of the transmission, and the industry has been remarkably consistent about not clarifying that. Here's what's actually happening in there. The fluid is a working hydraulic component, not just a lubricant. It generates the pressure that applies your clutch packs, and it carries away the heat those clutches generate. Over time, it shears, loses viscosity, and fills with fine friction material and metallic debris that circulates through the valve body and the solenoids. By the time you feel harsh engagement or a flare between gears, the damage is already accumulating. On a PDK, which is a dual-clutch gearbox with the fluid bathing the clutch packs directly, this matters more, not less. The mod is a drain and fill on a real interval, rather than never, done with the correct Porsche specification fluid, and done by a shop that knows the fill procedure, because these are temperature-sensitive to fill correctly. A few $100s on a schedule against a transmission that costs many thousands is not a close call. The same logic applies to the fluids the schedule goes quiet about. If your Porsche is all-wheel drive, there's a transfer case with its own oil, and it appears in almost no owner's mental model of maintenance because it barely appears in the service book. Cheap to drain and refill, expensive to replace. Same trade as everything else here. Want every Porsche interval and real cost on one page? Scan the QR on screen. Now, back to number 5. Number 5. The aluminium coolant pipe conversion. If you own a V8 Cayenne, this one is not optional. It's a countdown. The early V8 Cayennes came from the factory with plastic coolant pipes running through the valley of the engine, underneath the intake manifold, in one of the hottest places on the whole car. Here's what happens. Years of heat cycling make that plastic brittle, hairline cracks develop at the connection points, and coolant starts leaking directly into the engine valley where you cannot see it. Shops that work on these are direct about it. With the original plastic pipes, it is less a question of if they will fail than when, and the consequences stack. The leaking coolant pools in the valley and can take out your starter motor, and if you keep driving on a dropping coolant level, you warp cylinder heads, which turns a couple of $1,000s into something closer to 15. Porsche themselves acknowledged the design by releasing updated aluminum pipes to supersede the plastic ones. On the later V8s, the failure moved to glued joints that let go, and Porsche revised those to a bolted design. The mod is fitting the aluminum kit proactively, before it leaks, while the intake is off for something else. Independent shops recommend exactly this, and dealers generally wait for the failure. The telltale sign is coolant disappearing with no puddle underneath, because it's leaking into the valley rather than onto the ground. A slowly dropping reservoir with nothing on your driveway is the warning. And if you get a low coolant light on a V8 Cayenne, treat it as urgent, because by the time the dash tells you the leak is well advanced and the temperature gauge moves next, that's the SUV owners protected. The next mod is the one that genuinely switches a warning light on, and specialists fit it anyway. Number 4. The low temperature thermostat. This is the most genuinely banned-feeling mod on the list, and the reasoning behind it is fascinating. Your factory thermostat does not even begin to open until around 187 degrees Fahrenheit, and it isn't fully open until close to 210. Why so hot? Because a hotter, later opening thermostat gets the engine and the catalytic converters up to temperature faster, which is what emissions certification rewards. It was calibrated for a test cycle, not for the longevity of your cylinders. Here's the consequence. Independent testing shows that running the engine that hot produces uneven temperature distribution across the engine, and that differential creates localized hotspots, which specialists connect directly to cracked heads and to cylinder bore scoring. The mod is a low-temperature thermostat that begins opening roughly 20 to 25 degrees earlier and is fully open by around 180 to 185, so the cooling system reaches full flow before the hotspots develop. Now the banned part, and it's real. On some of the later engines, this thermostat will trigger a pending or active check engine light because the computer expects the factory warm-up curve. It doesn't affect drivability, and it won't put the car in limp mode, but your dealer will see it instantly, and it gives them a reason to dismiss a warranty conversation. On the earlier engines, it fits without that complication. Either way, the specialists who rebuild these engines for a living fit this thermostat as standard practice, and they list it directly under the heading of how to prevent bore scoring. The natural moment to do it is whenever the water pump comes out, because you've already drained the system and you're already in there, so the additional cost is the part and nothing else. Now the top 3, and all of them exist because of one specific weakness built into these engines. Number 3. Running a real oil analysis and boroscope program. This one isn't a part, it's a monitoring regime, and it's the mod that makes the last 2 possible. Here's the problem it solves. The 2 failures that end water-cooled Porsche engines both give you warning, and both warnings are routinely missed or misdiagnosed. Bore scoring announces itself as a knocking or ticking that owners are repeatedly told is a lifter, followed by rising oil consumption and one sooty tailpipe. A failing intermediate shaft bearing announces itself as metal in your oil filter, and nowhere else, until it doesn't announce itself at all. So the mod is to look. Send a used oil sample for analysis at every change and watch the wear metal trend over time, because a rising trend tells you something is grinding long before you can hear it. Cut open your oil filter and inspect the media for metal particles. And have the bores scoped properly, which means the inspector drops each piston to bottom dead center rather than peering in from the plug hole with the piston up, because scoring starts at the bottom of the cylinder and lives on bank 2, cylinders 4, 5, and 6. Do this, and you find problems while there's still repairs. And if the scope does find early scoring, it is not automatically an engine. Specialists extend the life of lightly scored engines by fixing whatever caused it in the first place, the vacuum leaks and the fuel wash we covered earlier, switching to a heavier oil formulated for the job, and then monitoring consumption closely. Plenty of engines get identified with scoring before a single symptom has appeared, and those are the ones with options. The engines that end up needing the next item on this list are the ones nobody ever looked inside. Which brings us to what you do when the scope finds something, and it's the mod that makes these engines permanently better than Porsche built them. Number 2. Cylinder sleeving. Here's the design flaw underneath everything on this list. Porsche cast these engine blocks in high-silicon aluminum alloy, the Locasil and Alusil processes, used across the 911, Boxster, and Cayenne, and also in the Cayenne, Panamera, and Macan. The cylinder walls have no separate liner. Instead, exposed silicon particles in the aluminum are what the piston rings actually ride on, and an iron coating on the piston keeps metal off metal. When that iron coating fails, or when enough silicon particles fracture away, there's nothing left to support an oil film. Wear debris drags up and down the bore, and you get cylinder bore scoring. And the rebuilders will tell you it is now the #1 cylinder failure they see on these engines. Here's the part that matters. If you buy a factory replacement short block, you get the same Locasil or Alusil cylinders and the same fundamental design that failed the first time. The mod is having the block sleeved with proper steel or nickel-plated liners, which removes the aluminium silicon cylinder system from the equation permanently. It costs real money, but for similar money to a factory block, you get an engine that cannot fail the same way twice. It's worth knowing which cars carry the risk, because it isn't every Porsche. The problem concentrates in the larger M96 and M97 engines and lands overwhelmingly on Bank 2, while some smaller Boxster and Cayenne engines are far less prone. And Porsche eventually engineered it out entirely, which is the clearest admission available that it was a design problem, not an owner problem. And that brings us to number 1, the mod that defines Porsche ownership, and the one your dealer will absolutely not fit. Number 1, the IMS bearing retrofit. If you own a 911 or a Boxster or a Cayenne with the M96 or M97 engine, roughly 1999 through 2008, there is a small sealed bearing inside your engine supporting the intermediate shaft that drives the timing chains. It's a normal roller bearing with a rubber seal, running in an oil-fed environment it was never ideally suited to, and when it fails, the consequences are absolute. Debris contaminates the oil, the timing chains jump, and the valves meet the pistons. That's not a repair, that's an engine. The failure rate depends heavily on which bearing you have. The single-row bearing used from roughly 2000 to 2005 is the vulnerable one, with failure rates reported in the 8 to 10% range. The dual-row bearing in the earliest cars is far safer, in the 1 to 2% range. And the large bearing used from 2005 to 2008 is the cruel one, because it cannot be retrofitted without splitting the engine case, which nobody does preventively. Porsche removed the intermediate shaft entirely from the 2009 direct injection engines, which tells you what they concluded. The mod is a retrofit kit with a far more robust bearing, and it's now considered standard maintenance on affected cars. The kit itself is under $1,000, and installed you're looking at roughly $1,500 to $3,500, depending on labor and whether the clutch comes out at the same time, which is exactly when you should do it. Your dealer will not fit an aftermarket bearing into your engine. And a documented retrofit makes the car worth more the day you sell it, because every informed buyer is looking for that receipt. Here's how to think about it if you own one of these cars right now. Find out which bearing yours has, because that single fact changes the entire calculation. If it's the vulnerable single-row unit, this is not a modification, it's overdue maintenance, and doing it at the same time as a clutch means you're paying for the labor once instead of twice. And if you're shopping for one of these cars, ask for the receipt before you ask about anything else, because a car without one is a car with a bearing of completely unknown condition sitting inside a very expensive engine.